So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News in Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a very short span of time within 30 minutes. Now, the idea behind this lecture series is very simple. We want you to cover your current affairs and we want you to cover them on a daily basis. But we don't want you to spend your entire day just reading the newspaper. Therefore, we shall cover the entire day's current affairs within 30 minutes. Now, just watching this lecture within 30 minutes would be job half done, because just after watching it, you need to revise it as well. Because revision helps in consolidating these current affairs in your memory. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes shall be shared on our Telegram platform. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Alright then, let's begin today's discussion. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. So in total, we'll be covering only 3 topics because these were the only 3 topics of significance from the perspective of civil services examination. Number 1 on this list is Operation Rising Lion. Well, Israel attacked Iran, okay? And there were few reasons behind this attack. So we will investigate those reasons and we will talk about this issue in its entirety, okay? So we will talk about Operation Rising Lion. Then the next topic is small modular reactors for railways. Basically, railways, Indian Railways is in talks with a Russian atomic energy company called Rosatom. Okay. Now, Railways wants Rosatom, a Russian company, to build small modular nuclear reactors for railways. Basically, railways or trains in India run on electrified tracks. Now, those electrified railway tracks require electricity. Now, you need electricity, so what better way to produce electricity than nuclear energy, because nuclear energy won't produce greenhouse gases. So this is something that Railways has asked Rosatom, okay? And in the end, we'll talk about this third news item, which is State of the World Report, World Population Report 2025, released by United Nations Fund for Population, okay? So what has been the new statistics with respect to world population? We will talk about this. Okay, so these are the 3 topics that we shall discuss. Let's start discussing them one by one, starting with topic number 1, and that is a big event as far as world affairs is concerned. Okay, Operation Rising Lion. So in what is its most ambitious military operation in recent years, Israel launched a series of air attacks against Iran on 13th June, targeting nuclear sites, missile facilities, and military infrastructure. Now, such was the scale of Israeli attack on Iran that in this attack, Israel targeted more than 100 sites in Iran. And that included the capital of Iran, Tehran. Okay, more than 100 sites. And these sites included, well, military facilities, nuclear facilities, where Iran was trying to build nuclear weapons, military infrastructure, ballistic missile depots. Plus, well, in these strikes, Israel basically killed the top leadership of Iran's military. Chief of Iran's military was assassinated in these strikes. Okay, now this has been nothing but spectacular. Now, I'm not saying that war is spectacular. I'm not talking about that. But if you take a look at this from a defense perspective, well, this was a very big attack on Iran. And recently the news has come out that Iran has retaliated spectacularly even. Iran has released a barrage of missiles to Israel, targeting some installations in Israel. Okay, so the conflict is escalating. Okay, nonetheless, Israel attacked Iran and Israel named its Operation Rising Lion. Now, Operation Rising Lion, basically it is taken from a biblical myth. Okay, so Rising Lion is a biblical myth, biblical verse which promises victory for Israeli people. Basically, Rising Lion is the name used for Judah. Okay, a figure, mythical figure, not mythical, actual figure, but I mean a very respected figure in biblical literature. Okay, nonetheless, this is also not that important. Which sites were targeted, this is not important. Which military personnel were targeted, this is also not important. And by the way, when I say this is not important, important from the perspective of civil services examination. Otherwise, these things are important, okay? But for you, UPSC aspirants, well, the sites are not important. You just need to know that military sites, military personnel, top military commanders, and nuclear sites were targeted, okay? That's it. But what you need to know as civil services aspirants is that why is Israel attacking Iran? Okay, so first let's talk about that. Why attack Iran? As you can see on this map, this is the map of Iran. These are the sites that were targeted. Okay, now the thing is that Iran is building nuclear weapons. Okay, Iran feels that for its security, it needs to have nuclear weapons. Now the thing is that Israel considers these nuclear weapons as a threat to its existence. Israel says that if Iran develops nuclear weapons, well, its existence, its very existence is threatened. Okay, and that is not something that Israel says out of thin air. Many politicians, military leaders of Iran have basically said that publicly, that we are developing nuclear weapons to wipe off Israel from the map of the world. Okay, so Israel considers this to be a very grave security threat, that Iran will develop nuclear weapons. Okay, now Iran has said publicly that it is not building nuclear weapons, it is basically developing nuclear facilities for civilian purposes. Okay, civilian purposes, that's it. So we are just going to produce electricity from it. Now, to make sure that Iran is only producing electricity from these nuclear technologies, well, all the nuclear facilities of Iran are under the supervision of International Atomic Energy Association, IAEA. But recently, IAEA Board of Governors has passed a resolution declaring Iran as being non-compliant with its non-proliferation obligations. Basically, IAEA conducted an investigation, and under that investigation, IAEA found out that under the guise of this civilian nuclear program, Iran was secretly building nuclear weapons. Now, when this investigation was out and IAEA Board of Governors said that Iran is not following its directives, it was clear that Iran is building nuclear weapons. Plus, Israeli intelligence also said that Iran was very close to building nuclear weapons. Okay, therefore, Israel says that it had to attack. And that is why Israel has targeted Iran's nuclear facilities. Okay, because Israel feels that Iran was very close to developing a nuclear weapon. Plus, Israel has not just assassinated military commanders. Israel in these strikes has attacked and killed nuclear scientists as well. Again, very clearly, Israel says that Iran was very close to developing nuclear weapons, and that is why we have targeted them. Israel has always considered a nuclear Iran to be an existential threat, and hence they called these strikes as preemptive, okay, beforehand. Now, why does Israel say, this is also important for you to know as civil services aspirants, okay, why does Israel say that Iran was very close to developing nuclear weapons? Well, you need to understand this point, okay. Now, to develop nuclear weapons, if any country wants to be a nuclear power, nuclear weapons power, okay, it needs three components. It basically needs three things to be a nuclear power state, okay. What are these three key requirements for a nuclear bomb? First of all, you need a nuclear warhead. This is basically the nuclear bomb in which you put nuclear material. Okay, so a nuclear warhead is a type of explosive device that utilizes nuclear reaction to generate an extremely powerful explosion. So this is the bomb, okay, and in this bomb you will put nuclear material. Now, what is this nuclear material? It can be uranium, it can be plutonium. Both of them are highly fissile. Now, the thing is that uranium needs to be highly enriched. Now, what is enrichment? We'll talk about that in our science and technology lectures, okay? But just know this for now, that for the purpose of being used in a bomb, uranium has to be highly enriched, okay? And uranium needs to go through the process of enrichment. Clear? Now, Iran has some nuclear enrichment facilities where it is enriching uranium, okay? And by enriching uranium, it is trying to create highly enriched uranium. Now, one more thing you need to know. If you are building or if you are possessing uranium for civilian purposes, if you just want to produce electricity, you require low enriched uranium. But if you are trying to create a nuclear bomb, then you require high enriched uranium. Now, International Atomic Energy Agency and Israeli intelligence have said that Iran is trying to collect stockpiles of highly enriched uranium. It has low enriched uranium, but it's trying to convert them into highly enriched uranium, which is a clear indication that Iran is building a nuclear bomb. Okay, and that is why Israel has targeted Iran's nuclear enrichment facilities. Okay, so nuclear material is the second component. Nuclear warhead is one, and well, if you want to attack Israel with nuclear weapons, you need a vehicle on which you will put this bomb. Well, that vehicle is ballistic missiles. Ballistic missile is a type of missile that uses projectile motion to deliver warheads on target. It acts as a vehicle or delivery mechanism for nuclear warhead. Clear? So these are the three requirements. Remember that. Nuclear warhead, the nuclear material which needs to be enriched, ballistic missiles. Clear? Now, if we talk about Iran, and that's why Israel was fearful of this thing. If we talk about Iran, Iran has a huge stockpile of ballistic missiles. So it has the delivery mechanism. But it does not possess a nuclear warhead. Or sources say, as of now, it does not possess a nuclear warhead. Maybe secretly they do, or maybe secretly they are very close to developing a nuclear warhead. And when it comes to nuclear material, that's the problem Israel has. And International Atomic Energy Agency also says that Iran is continuously enriching its uranium. The uranium it has for civilian purposes is being enriched for bomb. Okay, this is Iran's situation. Iran has one of the largest inventory of ballistic missiles, so there is no problem with respect to delivery mechanism. As per latest reports, Iran so far has not developed a nuclear warhead, but is very close to developing one. And as per International Atomic Energy Agency, Iran possessed a significant quantity of uranium enriched to 60%. Now, if this uranium is enriched to more than 80%, then it becomes a highly enriched uranium, and not 85%. So basically, International Atomic Energy Agency says that currently Iran has 60% enriched uranium. It is just a technical step away from possessing highly enriched uranium. So Israel believes that Iran was just months away from developing a nuclear bomb and dropping it on Israel. That is why they conducted these preemptive strikes. Okay. Now, as far as Iran's nuclear program is concerned, well, Iran is party to Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. Under this treaty, Iran is not allowed to possess nuclear weapons. Okay. Basically, whichever country signed this Non-Proliferation Treaty, NPT, in 1968, it is not allowed to possess nuclear weapons. But in return, the international community will provide them with the technology to use nuclear technology for civilian purposes under the safeguards of IAEA. So if any country signs NPT, the world will provide them with the technology to produce nuclear electricity, and their nuclear facilities would be under the scrutiny or supervision of IAEA, so that they don't use that nuclear facility to produce nuclear bombs. So this is the situation of Iran. Okay. So as a non-nuclear weapon state under NPT, Iran is obligated to not develop nuclear weapons and subject its nuclear facilities to IAEA. But many experts believe that Iran was secretly building a nuclear bomb. Now, this news was out that Iran was secretly building a nuclear bomb, and that is why America had put economic sanctions on Iran. Now, currently, just before these Israeli strikes, US and Iran were trying to negotiate a deal under which Iran would stop its nuclear program to build nuclear weapons in return for America lifting economic sanctions from Iran, because these economic sanctions are crippling Iran's economy. Clear? But this deal was not being concluded. Both sides were not basically ready to agree to terms, and that is why this deal was still under negotiations. Well, Iran was side by side building nuclear bombs, side by side negotiating this treaty and side by side building nuclear bombs, and that is why Israel struck preemptively. That's what Israel says. Okay. Now, we haven't heard from Iran so far. We just heard that Iran says that it vows revenge on Israel. Okay. That's it. And that's all you need to know as far as this news is concerned. Okay. Please don't get into how many sites were hit, who was killed, what was killed, how brave Israel is or how brave Iran is, whichever side you're on. Don't get into these things. Just get into the fact what is important for you to know as civil services aspirants. And as civil services aspirants, you need to know about these things: IAEA, NPT, all these things. Okay, and the three components of a nuclear bomb. Clear? Make sense? All right. Now let's move on to second news item, which is small modular reactors for railways. So Rail Vikas Nigam Limited, which is a public sector undertaking or a government company under Railway Ministry, is in discussion with Russia's state-owned atomic energy company Rosatom to build small modular reactors to fulfill the energy requirements of its 4 ongoing mega projects. So Railway is building many railway tracks on which trains could run. Okay, these are the 4 ongoing mega projects. Now those railway tracks are electrified, right? Now the electricity for these electrified tracks can come from various sources, can come from coal, can come from solar, and can also come from nuclear, right? Now coal is a big no-no because it produces a lot of greenhouse gases causing global warming. Solar can be done, but solar has one problem, and that is intermittency, which means when the sun is shining bright and high in the sky, well, you can produce solar electricity, but when it is cloudy or when it is night time, solar energy suffers from this problem of intermittency. It cannot produce electricity. That is why when sun is shining bright and high in the sky, well, you use solar power plants to produce solar energy, and when you produce surplus solar energy, you store it in batteries so that when it is night time, you can use the energy stored in these batteries to power yourself. But it would require a big battery infrastructure. That is why Railways is looking towards nuclear, because it not only removes the problem of producing greenhouse gases, it also removes the problem of having a huge battery storage infrastructure. Okay. Now the thing is, small modular nuclear reactors. What are small modular nuclear reactors? We'll talk about that. Okay. But small modular nuclear reactors, well, a company that has expertise in small modular nuclear reactors is Rosatom, a Russian company. That is why RVNL is in talks with Rosatom to basically build small modular reactors for its projects. Now, the push towards nuclear energy is part of this year's budget announcement to develop SMRs to reduce dependency on fossil fuels, because currently we produce majority of our electricity from fossil fuels. And Indian Railways has also set itself a target of net zero emissions by 2030. So net zero greenhouse gas emissions by Indian Railways by 2030. This is Indian Railways target. And in that target, well, small modular reactors would play a huge role. Now, let's talk about small modular reactors. So first of all, nuclear reactors are those reactors or those machines or those plants that produce electricity from nuclear fuel, right? Now, generally the world is used to large conventional reactors. Large conventional reactors, these big, huge reactors, produce around 700 megawatts of electricity, okay? But the problem with large conventional reactor is, first of all, there is a huge capital cost, a lot of money is involved, plus they are not that safe. Because if there is a nuclear accident, well, it can cause devastation in a big area. Okay, because they are large, they have a lot of nuclear fuel. They're not that safe. Plus the nuclear waste that is generated from these power plants, these big nuclear reactors, is huge. Okay, is a lot. So nuclear waste gets generated and it's very difficult to dispose it of. In comparison to that, small modular reactors are small nuclear reactors which can only produce electricity up to 300 megawatt. Okay, it can only be used to power small areas, not large areas, big cities, no, small areas. Okay, but the best part about small modular reactors is they are smaller. Okay, they are easy to assemble, they have very low cost, they are more safe. The problem of nuclear phase disposition or disposal is easy. Okay, plus they are designed for cost effective operation and reduced construction time, making them attractive for energy generation. So they are safe, low in cost, easy to assemble. That is why they are being preferred over large conventional reactors, because large conventional reactors are a little unsafe. Okay, now benefits of small modular reactors for India. So first of all, it will fulfill India's electricity energy needs. Plus, if India develops small modular reactors all by itself, which India has started a project on called Bharat SMRs. That would be really great. Plus, it has strategic advantages. SMRs can provide a reliable, low carbon means, well, no greenhouse gases are emitted, electricity source complementing intermittent renewables. Remember, renewables are solar and wind, and both solar and wind suffer from the problem of intermittency. Remember, we just discussed, when the sun is shining bright and high, you produce solar energy, but when it's not, no solar energy. So this problem of intermittency can get solved through nuclear energy, right? Plus, the government is thinking that already there are many coal power plants. Now, when their life would be over, they can be repurposed into small modular reactors easily, and that would also solve for India's power needs. Clear? So the benefits for small modular reactors in India are huge, but there are some challenges also. Okay, what are those challenges? The biggest challenge is the Atomic Energy Act, because as per Atomic Energy Act, no private player can be involved in nuclear sector in India. If no private player can be involved, that means, well, foreign players like Rosatom cannot be involved. Now, why is Railways in talks with Rosatom? Because currently government has announced that it will amend Atomic Energy Act to allow private players in nuclear energy, and then Rosatom can enter and build small modular reactors for itself. Okay, so this is a challenge as of now until the amendment to Atomic Energy Act, which allows private sector participation. Then safety and security, that is an issue. Why? Though they are safer than large reactors, but still small modular reactors also involve nuclear energy, nuclear fuel, nuclear material. So you need to make sure that this nuclear material doesn't get stolen, proper safety mechanisms are taken into account. So this is a challenge. Plus, we need to manage public perception, because whenever you tell people that there is a nuclear plant coming in your vicinity, people become scared because they are fearful of any future accidents. Okay, so people don't want nuclear energy in their vicinity. So you need to manage public perception so that people are more receptive towards nuclear energy. Make sense, right? So these are the challenges. That's all. Clear? And now let's quickly shift our focus to State of the World Population Report 2025, the real fertility crisis. Now, as per the State of World Population Report, many people are choosing to have fewer children. Okay, and this is visible from the declining fertility rates all over the world, including India. Okay, now fertility rates, which means the amount of children a woman will have in her reproductive life cycle. Okay, so number of children, on average the number of children women would have. Now, if your fertility rates are less than 2.1, that means your population will decline in future. If they are equal to 2.1, then your population has reached replacement level, which means the number of people who will take birth, or the number of people who would be born would replace the number of people who would die. So replacement level. And if it is greater than 2.1, then your population would expand. So this World Population Report says that there have been declining fertility rates that can be seen all over the world. And World Population Report basically says that the reason why fertility rates are declining, and that is in India also, is because people have poor economic situation. And because of poor economic situation, they cannot afford to have more children. So they lack choice. They cannot achieve their reproductive goals because of lack of choice. Okay, this is a problem. Maybe some people want to have more children, but because of economic freedom, they are not having more children. Okay, this is something that this report has pointed out. By the way, this report is released by United Nations Fund for Population. Okay, so UNFPA 2025 State of the World Population Report, the real fertility crisis, calls for a shift from panic over falling fertility to addressing unmet reproductive goals. People are not being able to meet their reproductive goals because of lack of choice. It states that millions of individuals are not able to realize their fertility goals, And this is the real crisis, not underpopulation or overpopulation. Okay. Now, what is India's situation as per this report? It states that 1 in 3 adult Indians face unintended pregnancies, while 30% experience unfulfilled desire for having either more or fewer children. Sometimes they have accidentally more children, or sometimes they can't have more children. Fertility rates dropped from 5 to 2 in India. So India's average fertility rate from 1970 has dropped from 5 to 2. That is around replacement level. That is good. And that is because of better education and healthcare. But there is disparity between states. So some states like Bihar, UP, Jharkhand have higher fertility rates. That means these states will showcase population growth in future. Whereas southern states, Tamil Nadu, Kerala and many other states, okay, Punjab, Delhi, they have below replacement level fertility. So their population is going to decline. Bihar, UP, Jharkhand's population is going to increase. So there is considerable disparity. Okay. Now UNFPA has made certain recommendations for India. Okay, what India should do to basically help its population levels. Okay. So number one recommendation is expanding sexual and reproductive health so that people have better reproductive healthcare facilities. Removing structural barriers. What are structural barriers? Well, people can't have more children because they fear that children would be an economic burden on them. So provide affordable childcare, education, housing and flexible work policies. Inclusive policies should also be provided. Okay, for unmarried individuals, marginalized groups, LGBTQ. Clear? Now about UNFPA, you need to know something about UNFPA also because, well, questions can be asked in prelims. Alright. So it was founded in 1969 as United Nations Fund for Population Activities. Okay. Later its name was changed to UNPF, but it kept its previous abbreviation. The mission of UNFPA is given as follows. Okay. That's all. That's all you need to know about this. Okay. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. But like I say this every time, it will add more value if you're consistent and regular with this lecture series. And you do not forget to revise this lecture because revision, like I said before, is very important. On that note that you'll revise this lecture, I would be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.